All right. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. Happy New Week, and I do hope we all had a wonderful weekend out there. And in fact, I'm very much excited to welcome you to yet another promising edition of our Forex Morning Mastery as we take a fresh new perspective into the financial market from a technical standpoint. So I'm very excited to welcome you guys. And it's a new week. And in fact, we are going to be taking a new perspective into the financial market. And first of all, let me confirm if you'd watched my videos during the course of the weekend. I'm so sorry about that. I had a power outage, so we had to switch um, our connection to the. Hold on a second. Please give me a moment, please. I'm so sorry about that. I had to sort out some power outage issues here, but I'm very grateful that everything is fine right now. So once again, you are very much welcome to yet another promising edition on the Forex Morning Mastery. My own name is Sheriff Daramola, and for the next 1 hour, I'm going to be your host where sorry, is it 1 hour? Next 30-40 minutes, it shouldn't be up to 1 hour. Of course not. Where we shall be evaluating the financial market. And of course, we do have a handful of assets we are going to be looking at ahead of the new week. And for those of you who are with me on all of my public platform, you definitely must have gotten two major assets that I plan to take advantage of during the course of the week. And in fact, the Forex Morning Mastery is more or less a follow-up detail to this analysis I shared during the course of the weekend. So it's very important for you to watch them so you can have a background knowledge of what we will be discussing right here, as we are only going to be deliberating on the 1 hour time frame, which happens to be our execution time frame. If you had not watched those videos I shared during the weekend, please do. The links are right in the description box of this current video you are watching, so you can check them out after the live session so that you can have a preview of how we got to this point we are. So for this week, we have three major assets which we will be looking at for this week. The USOILSPOT, which I never shared during the course of the weekend, so I will be doing a top-down analysis on how we got to this point. In fact, I have a buy position running on the USOILSPOT right now, and I will be sharing with you how I got to the point of considering buying this asset at this point in time. Then we're looking at the GBPUSD, of course. What a phenomenal asset that was for us last week. As remember that we were looking out for buying opportunities throughout the first 4 days of last week, and in fact our patience paid off at the end of the day as we waited for 96 hours before finally the bullish momentum started on the last trading day of last week, giving us over 600 pips in profit on multiple entries. So we are going to be looking at how we are going to be following up on that asset today. Then lastly, we are looking at the XAUUSD, which we still have the idea of the bullish momentum still intact, but it appears that the momentum is a little bit slow at this point in time. So we'll look at how we are going to be positioning ourselves for the next move on that one. So with that being said here, we will be diving right into the business. And before I do, I want to welcome those of you who are joining us for the first time. You're highly welcome on board, and I'm very, very glad to have you around with us. Well, you might be asking what this is all about. Well, as technical traders, we gather here every day to come together as a community and engage in follow-ups and reviews of our current positions. Well, the session kickstarts 8:05 a.m. UTC, 9:05 a.m. West African time, depending on your time zone, and I highly recommend that you stay tuned in during this session so that you can get to understand how our analytical approach works in this community, and eventually be able to use the information you gather here to make your own independent trading decisions. So once again, you are very much welcome on board. So with that being said, we will be diving into the business for today, and as usual, the first thing we normally do is to check on the economic calendar. And for those of you who have been with me for a while now, you know how important this is, as these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movement. By monitoring the economic calendar, we can identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns on the chart, hereby giving us valuable information needed to make us position ourselves in such a way that we can capitalize on any potential move prior, during, and even after this economic event. So usually on the economic calendar, we normally focus on high impact event from the economic docket that affects the assets on our watch list. And based on the asset we have for this week, we will be focusing on the United Kingdom and the United States economic docket. So I would like to take out all the other countries in this bouquet, and let's leave only the United States and the United Kingdom so that we can have a neat table to work with. Then in terms of the impact of this event, I would like to include the medium impact events, as if you had seen the economic calendar prior to this moment, you will see that we do not have any high impact event. So I needed something that we can use to guide our trading decisions, as we all know that the anticipation of events always has its own influence on market sentiment, which will dovetail to price action on the chart. So with the medium and high impact event marked duly, so what do we have here? So for today, Monday, November 6th, we do not have any high impact event, and in fact we only have the medium impact event, which we will be looking at, and we have something from both the United States and the United Kingdom. Please hold on a second. Okay. Sorry, please. So we only have for the United States and the United Kingdom, and they are coming much more later in the week. So the first one here is a speech coming in from Powell. Well, Powell is the Chief Economist and Executive Director of Monetary Analysis and Research for the Bank of England. And in fact, he is a member of the Monetary Policy Committee, which is responsible for the analysis the Bank of England uses to make monetary policy decisions. So he's going to be giving a speech in about, I think, about 10 to 12 hours from now. And whatever he says here will definitely be giving us an insight into the monetary policy outlook of the Bank of England and, of course, the health situation of the U.S. of the United Kingdom's economy. Then later today, we are going to be looking forward to the loan officer survey from the United States economic docket. And for those of us who don't know what this is all about, well, the loan survey is a feature on the economic calendar that provides a critical insight into the lending practices of the financial institutions in the United States. And in fact, it also gives us the trend in borrowing standard and loan demand in the economy, which in the long run will affect the health situation, will give us an insight into the health situation of the U.S. economy. So this is coming up much more later in the day, and we want to be seeing what the report is going to be like. So I think by the end of today, we should be having an highlight. So I will be sharing with you updates on that one tomorrow. So for today, these are the events we are looking forward to: the speech and the loan officer survey from the United States. So with all the data we have here, let's scale into the chart and let's look at things from a technical standpoint. And as usual, the first asset we are going to be looking at this morning is going to be the USOILSPOT. I see your comment, Ika's Diary. I see your comment, Fred. Good morning to you guys. I'm very excited to have you around with me this morning, and I do hope we all had a wonderful weekend. So with that being said, let's move right into the chart, and let's run through the higher time frame so that we can have an holistic perspective into what is really going on here and what led to the decisions that I have made as at this morning. So the first point of contact here is going to be on the daily time frame, and in fact we have a very simple trading setup we will be using to guide our decisions for today. Now, the first thing I was able to observe here is that very important key level, which is situated around the $80 area. So I do not want to go to further than this year. So let's just take between the month of March and this present moment, and you will see how the $80 mark here had played a major role in determining the direction of price action. Well, prior to the month of August, we can see how that zone had been a strong selling niche in this market. You see, we saw selling pressure here again in the month of April. Then fast forward to the month of August, we finally saw how buyers finally gained that momentum to break out of that supply zone to incite a bullish momentum for the month of August, September, and I think a little bit of the month of October. Now, price action after breaking out of the $80 area, you can see how it has come back to respect that $80 level. We saw buy pressure resume above that area. So what this simply means is that what happens to be the supply zone before has now become a platform for buying opportunity. However, the fact that it becomes a platform for buy potential doesn't mean that price action may not break down this area. Now, if we look at the highest point price action has been for this year, we can see it is around the $93.50 level. And we saw the next point, the next high here is a lower high, giving us around the $89.15 area, giving us a situation where price may continue to the downside. And if it does, a breakdown retest of the $80 area will be all we need to capitalize on a downtrend move. However, if price still remains above this key level at the $80 mark, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of buying this asset. Now, if we take into consideration the fundamental factors or the geopolitical tension going on in the Middle East, these are conditions that may have a potential of favoring the USOILSPOT based on the fact that concerns regarding supply of oil may actually affect price as well. So with this situation here, this is what we are going to be using to guide our decisions for this week. Now, with this being said here, let's scale down into the 4 hours time frame where I was able to identify a simple setup we will be using. Well, what I did here was to take into consideration the historical data for the month of October. And if you look at the month of October critically, you will see that despite the strong bearish momentum that happened, that started the month of October, we saw how it became difficult for sellers to break down that $80 zone. And every attempt by the sellers to break through the structure has been met with strong resistance from the buyers, hereby giving this area a label that is synonymous to a demand zone. So at this point, we have a demand zone to work with, and as long as price action remains above or around this area, we will continue to consider the potentials that buyers still have a say in this market. And the only condition that will make us want to sell is only if this demand zone is taken out in such a way that price drops below that $80 mark, retest of structure to join that decline to the downside. So that is what we are going to be looking at for today. Now, what we're going to be doing next is to scale down into a much more lower time frame, like the 1 hour time frame, so that we can see how participants in this market has been reacting to this current structure since the beginning of this week. Now, if we scale down into the 1 hour time frame, we'll begin to see things more clearly. Now, let me zoom this right in. So what I saw here at the beginning of the week was the fact that price for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, price action was confined within a range that is between the $81 mark and the $80.65 area to emphasize the level of uncertainty in this particular market. And of course, you know how we do it in this community. Whenever price action falls into this kind of range, giving us some certainty going on in the market, we have no other choice than to exercise patience and wait for a signal to come, which obviously comes in the form of either a breakout of the resistance line or the breakdown of the support line for an opportunity to trade. Now, with the price confined within a beautiful range like this, of course, at no point in time have we seen price break down the support line here. And due to this, the breakout of the resistance line triggered my first buy position for the week. And currently, price action is running with about 45 pips in profit. And if you had found this position and took advantage of this opportunity, that's a wonderful one out there. Well done to you, and kudos to you for being on standby to capitalize on this move. And now that price has moved about 45 pips thereabout, which is a little bit significant considering the asset we are looking at here, I would just advise you to move your stop loss to your entry point, and let's see how price will play out from this point. However, if you missed out on this buy position, well, there's no cause for alarm. The week is still very, very early, so we just need to exercise patience and wait for new structures to mature. Now, what are the things we are going to be looking out for to capitalize on this uptrend situation that has gripped the market right now? Well, one of the first things we are going to be looking at here, since price has already broken out of the resistance line of the range at the $81 area, let's see if the market will come back and retest the structure that was broken. Maybe something like this, where the appearance of buy pressure here reveals that sellers are finding it difficult to push through that range we identified there to incite an uptrend move. So that is one situation we are looking out for, a potential retest of that range to incite an uptrend continuation. However, it's not all the time that price action comes back to retest structure, and if instead it continues to climb and find new highs, then we might be looking out for new opportunities along the $81.50 zone. So I have the $81.50 area right here. It's also another psychological level that we do want to be looking at, as if you see what has been going on here since the beginning of this month, you will see how that level had also played a major role in determining the direction of price action. So I will give this one a green color, and let's label it appropriately so that we can have a visual representation of what we are talking about here. So we have the $81.50 level duly marked out. So we do want to be seeing price break out and retest the structure to incite an uptrend continuation. Now, one interesting thing about the $81.50 level is this. Now, I think I showed you something on the 4 hours time frame which I didn't emphasize, and these are the descending trend line that started during the second half of the month of October. Now, price action since the second half has found consistent lower highs, bringing price back into that demand zone, and along the line it actually formed a descending trend line after we connected a series of lower highs. So at this point, this level, this trend lines may be a barrier or may be a platform for new buying opportunities. Now look at the $81.50 level which I identified earlier. You'll see how it shares a beautiful confluence with that descending trend line. So if price breaks out of the $81.50 level, price would also have broken out of that descending trend line, which will be a sign that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate the bullish momentum, hereby giving us confidence of adding more buy positions to our existing trade. And if price action goes on to break out the major descending trend line, then the bullish momentum is hereby established for this month. So that is what we are going to be doing, using to guide our decisions for today. So let me scale back down into the 1 hour time frame, which is our execution time frame. So I continue to hold on to a bullish bias with the hopes that price action will continue to find new highs, breaking out of the $81.50 level and the descending trend lines we identified here. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunities, you know how we do it in this community, we also want to keep tabs with the potentials that sellers could come in at any point in time. However, if we look at the situation here and based on the descending trend lines we identified on the higher time frame, it is quite clear that price action still remains below the descending trend line. And of course, if price remains below the descending trend line, it's reasonable to look out for selling opportunity. But the fact that price sits above that $80 mark, which happens to be a very strong demand zone which was consistent throughout the month of October, that is why I'm holding on to a bullish bias here. But personally, if you would ask me, I would rather, from a long-term perspective, want to see price break down that $80 mark, that demand zone for the month of October to incite selling opportunities here. So to give a visual representation, I do want to see price slice through the $80 mark, retest of structure for me to feel comfortable joining any bearish momentum. However, we can actually capitalize on a breakdown before the breakdown of the $80 mark only if we see a trading setup that's convincingly gives us a bearish expectation in this market. And this could be price breaking down the support line of this range. Now, if price breaks down the support line of this range, doesn't mean that we are going to be selling outrightly. It doesn't mean that we are going to be having a sell stop order here. Remember, we are still sitting on a very strong demand zone. So we want to see some confirmation happen, like a retest of structure, giving us signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb back above the $81 area. And if this consistently holds, then we want to be joining a bearish move. Then as soon as price gets into the $80 area, move all stop losses, secure your position, as we want to see how the market will react to that demand zone. And if it breaks down, then we want to be looking out for more opportunity to sell. And if buy pressure happens above, then we want to be looking out for buying opportunities. But trust me, I will be with you in the comment section of both my trading view and Telegram platforms to give you update as at when due. So at this point in time, our center of focus is above that range. Since price has broken out of the $81 area, let's continue to look out for buying opportunity. If price continues to find new highs, breaking out of the $81.50 level, then we continue to add more buy positions to our existing trade. So these are my views on the US Oil Spot for today. If you have any questions whatsoever, you need me to do some clarification in an aspect you really do not understand, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So as usual, I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds off to see if there are any questions, while you can also use your time, that time, to mark out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions today. All right. I see your comment, Jonah Aruna. Good morning to you. Trust you had a wonderful weekend out there. Okay, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page. So in that regard, I will be moving on to the next asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is the GBPUSD, and in fact I already have a buy position triggered at this point in time, and I do hope that you also have taken advantage of that move. Well, for those of you who are with me on both my TradingView and Telegram platform, you definitely have gotten an update as regards to how we are going to be managing our positions on the GBPUSD. Then I talked about how we saw a slight increase in the US Treasury bond as at this morning, hereby giving the dollar some little bit of traction across its major peers. But it appears that on the pound sterling, we are yet to see the strength of the dollar reflect on the chart. And as a result, it appears that the pound sterling is getting stronger by the day, giving us an insight into the possibilities of new highs to be formed this week. Now, while I was trying to dissect this current market structure this morning, this was what I was able to come up with. Now, before I go into the details here, I would like to emphasize that I already done a top-down analysis on the GBPUSD, which I shared during the course of the weekend when I was explaining what my plans are for the new week. And for those of you who had not watched that video, I encourage you to watch that video so that you can have a background knowledge of how we got to this point you are seeing on the 1 hour time frame. And if you had not watched, the link is right in the description box of this current video you are watching, so you can check them out after the live session to have a background knowledge of how we got to this level. Now, going back into the chart. So on the 1 hour time frame, which is our execution time frame, this was what I was able to spot during the early hours of today, and I shared that with you on my public platforms, where I identified a range where price action was confined within the 1.23900 level. That was the highest point price action tested last week after that impulsive move, and then the 1.23650, which happens to be the lowest point price action has gotten to for this week. So we had a beautiful range to start the week with, and of course you know how we do it. Whenever we have this kind of setup, we want to wait for price action to give us a signal to come to trade, either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line or the breakdown of the support line. And as you will see here, price hasn't broken down the support line, so the sell stop order was not triggered. Instead, we had the buy position triggered right now, and currently price action is running with about 20 pips in profit at this point in time. So well done to everyone who have been on standby to capitalize on this one. Well done to you. Let's see how far this momentum will go. However, if you had missed out on this opportunity, just like what I said on the gold, let's exercise patience and wait for new structures to mature. Of course, I will be giving updates on both my TradingView and Telegram platform as to how we are going to be managing this position if any new trading setup comes up. But the most glaring one here is if we consider the technical expectation that after price breaks out of a very solid structure such as the 1.239 here, we might likely see price come back to do a retest of that level to incite an uptrend continuation. So in this case scenario, especially for those of us who had missed out on this buy position, let's exercise patience and see if the market will give us a second chance to be part of this uptrend move. So on the GBPUSD for today, I still remain very, very bullish in this particular market. However, in as much as we are very bullish here, let's quickly take into consideration the potentials the sellers have here and what we can see on this chart that will make us negate the idea of buying. Now, considering the fact that price has broken out of the 1.239, and in fact this candle is still about 40 to 43 minutes old at this point, so it still has about 15 minutes to close. So we still cannot say that this breakout is valid or not. So we really need this candle to close above the structure to feel very confident that this bullish momentum will stay. However, if it turns out to be a false breakout where price drops back down into the range and probably continue to find lower highs, then a breakdown of the 1.23650 is likely going to incite a retracement move, which could be as a result of profit-taking activities. Now, if we look at what happened last week Friday, remember that it took us quite a while before we were able to capitalize on this bullish move. If you see this impulsive move here, you would agree that psychologically, those of us or those of the market participants who had bought at a very cheap price may want to be considering doing some profit-taking activities, closing in some of their position to hold on to some of the profit they had made. And this could result into a retracement into maybe the 1.23 area or the ascending trend line to incite an uptrend continuation. So this is a possibility that could happen here. So let's keep this in mind. So if price action does drop down below the 1.23650, which I doubt will happen, let's keep that in mind for selling opportunities. So these are my views on the GBPUSD. So we still hold on to a bullish bias here and continue to wait for new structures to mature above the 1.239 to add more positions to our existing trade. So that is my view on the GBPUSD for today. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So as usual, I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds off to see if there are any questions. If there are any questions whatsoever. And you can use your that time to mark out these levels on your chart, please. All right, so in the absence of no question, that reminds me, I want to add one more thing here. Please note that for those of us who are in this buy position or those who are still planning to buy again if the market comes back to retest the 1.239, please note that you do want to be having your stop loss in place. There is no position we take in this community without having our stop losses in place. Very, very important. And in this case scenario, anywhere below the support line of that 1.23650 seems most appropriate to lock in your position here, which will be dovetailing to about 20 to 25 pips stop loss on this one, which is not bad at all considering this asset we are looking at. So with that being said, let's move on to the next asset on our watch list. So the last asset on our watch list for today is my favorite, that is the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. And in fact, we're beginning to notice some interesting situations going on in this particular market. Well, the new week has started with the new trading week has started on a weaker note. As you will see, it was more of selling momentum. As you will see here, price started the week around the $1,993 area, and as you will see, price had continued to drop to the downside. The lowest point we are right now is the 1,982. So we have about a 10 pips drawdown since the week began. And for me, I will consider this to be a retracement. Remember, we had some impulsive move happen on Friday, especially after the NFP data came in below expectations. And another thing that could be inciting this bearish momentum we're noticing at the beginning of the week is the traction the U.S. Treasury yield gained during the first hours of the week, has also given the dollar some strength, a little bit of strength, and it's affecting the yellow metal at this point in time. Well, nevertheless, it's crucial to approach the situation with patience, as you all know that considering the tension in the Middle East and because lately the Feds are already, the insinuation from the Feds at this point in time is that there is some rounding off on monetary tightening policies, which is insinuating a rate cut in the second quarter of next year. And because of this, the dollar may not likely be attractive for investors at this point in time. So for me, I still feel that this downside is still limited with these factors that I just mentioned here. So we want to see how we are going to be capitalizing on the next move here. Are we going to be selling the XAUUSD, or are there chances that buyers will capitalize on its trend that started last week? Well, the first thing we have here on the XAUUSD is the ascending trend line. Now, let me show you this quickly. For those of you who had watched my video, you will be familiar with this setup, but for those who haven't, pending the time you watch those videos, you will see here that since the beginning of the month of October, price action had consistently found higher highs and higher lows, giving us a couple of ascending trend lines that emphasize the strength of the buyers at this point in time. And if we zoom into the current structure, you will see that in the last couple of weeks, price action had been in a range emphasizing the level of indecision here, that is between the 2010 and the 1970 area. Now, since the new week has begun, it appears we have a little bit of breakdown of that ascending trend line, as you will see here. Now, the question at this point is, will this breakdown be a true breakdown, or will it turn out to be a false breakdown where price will climb back above the ascending trend line to push new highs on this particular market? So we are at a very crucial juncture where it's very necessary we exercise patience and wait for important structures to mature before we jump into the position. Now, scaling down into the 1 hour time frame so that we can see how participants in this market have been reacting to this current structure. Well, if you look at the structure closely, it appears that we initially had a range. There was some indecision going on for about 3 to 4 hours in the market, where price was confined within the $1,993 level and the $1,987.50 area before that breakdown finally happened in the last 4 to 5 hours. Now, the inability of sellers to break through the $1,982 level, despite the strong bearish momentum that started this week, for me is a red flag that we might be seeing a waning in the bearish momentum that began this week. And if we look at the nature of all these candles that tested the 1982 area, you will see that they are looking like sharp rejections, giving us signs that sellers are not settling into this current structure. And because of this might likely be a platform for buying opportunities. However, the fact that price still remains below the ascending trend line we identified on the higher time frame is a suspect for us, so we can just jump into any buy positions here. Now, one of the things I will be looking at from a technical standpoint is this: since we already have a breakdown of the ascending trend line and the $1,987.50 level, we might be seeing a retracement back into either the 1,987, the 1,990, or even the ascending trend line to incite some downtrend continuation. This is a possibility that could happen in this market, so we want to be taking this into consideration. And because of this idea, we will not be jumping into a buy position unless we see something very significant that emphasizes that buyers are going to be gaining momentum here. Now, what are the things I want to look out for on this current market structure to give me a little bit of confidence to start planning to buy? Well, for me to consider buying at this point, I would rather want to see some bullish traction first of all evolve, which we already seen right now. As you can see how sellers are finding it difficult to break through the 1,982. Now, if price climbs up with an engulfing candle breaking out of the 1,987, I'm still going to be skeptical of any buying opportunities here. Then if price does a retest of the ascending trend line and maybe comes back into the $1,987.50 zone, and we begin to see signs that sellers cannot go further than that, where continued buy pressure happens and reversal patterns form like double bottom structures, head and shoulder patterns, then I want to feel confident of joining a bullish move, so I can look at buying above the $1,990 area, capitalizing on that first one right there, then adding more positions at the breakout of the $1,993 area, which happens to be the highest point price action has been for this week. So that is one way for us to capitalize on an uptrend situation here. However, if price does not retrace back into the 1,987 and instead it continues to find new highs, then I want to be seeing the breakout of the 1,993, which immediately price breaks out of the 1,993 level. Price will also have climbed back above the ascending trend line, which means that we are back within the buyer's territory, giving us a good opportunity to join an uptrend continuation. So this is how I'm going to be capitalizing on an uptrend move in this particular market. Now, there's one more thing I would like to state here before I close for today, and that is the importance of this lowest point that price action has been since the beginning of this week. As you will see, continued buy pressure here. Now, if it so happens that price breaks down this 1,982, then at this point, I want to be affirming this bearish momentum, and this will be a beautiful opportunity to join a decline to the downside, at least for the meantime. So let's see how the market will play out from this current market structure. But trust me, I will be with you in the comment section of both my TradingView and Telegram platforms to give you updates as at when due. So these are my views on the XAUUSD. Let's see how the market will play out. And one more thing here is I can see a lower highs here, which I can use to mark out a trend line for today. So let's see how this trend line is going to hold for today's trading session, for this first half of this week maybe. So I would just like to give it a red color and emphasize its importance by thickening it a little bit. So we have a red color here. Then when we bring out our candle chart, we can do some readjustment so that it can capture majority of the pivot high. So we have something like this. So this trend line here is going to play a major role. So if instead we see selling pressure around this area, then a breakdown of the 1,982 will be welcoming selling opportunities. So let's see how the market will play out on the structure. And trust me, I will be with you in the comment section of both my TradingView and Telegram platforms to give you update. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And if you have found this content helpful, please support this project by giving the video a thumbs up. Your likes are valuable to me, and in fact it also helps the algorithm to push and promote the video to a wider audience of traders who may find this content beneficial. Thank you in advance for doing so. For those of you I'd like, thank you very much. For those of you who are yet to like, please do write below. Just click on the thumbs up. This is the cheapest way you can support this project, and thank you very much for doing so. So with that being said, let's wait for the next 10 to 15 seconds and see if there are any questions, and then we round off for today's trading session. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page, and it has been a wonderful moment with you guys today as we were able to attend to 3 major assets where I did a top-down analysis on the USOILSPOT, and I told you how I'm in a buy position and how we can capitalize on the uptrend continuation that might likely happen here. Now, we also talked about the pound sterling too as well. We talked about the potential bullish uptrend situation, and of course on the XAUUSD we talked about the indecisive nature of the current market conditions, and we are looking out for significant signal on the XAUUSD to give us an insight into where price will be going for today. But trust me, I will be with you in the comment section of both my TradingView and Telegram platforms to give you update as at when due. So I dropped the link to the XAUUSD live window right in the comment section. Please click on it, click on the notify me button so that you can get notified as soon as we come online. So the XAUUSD live window usually kickstart 5 to 10 minutes into the New York session, and it runs for about the first 6 hours of the New York session, where we all come together to monitor real-time price action of the XAUUSD, where we also look out for new opportunities to capitalize on. So you want to be part of that session so that you can, of course, take some learn some lessons from how we make our decisions here. So Ika's Diary, I see your comment. Thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate, and thank you for the support so far. So on this note, I would like to wish us all the best of luck for today. It has been a wonderful day, so I hope that the week starts on a very positive note for us all in this community. So let's see how the market will play out, and trust me, I will be with you in the comment section as usual. I look forward to your comments, your feedbacks in the comment section of both my TradingView, Telegram platform, and of course during the XAUUSD live window. So on this note, best of luck everyone as we continue to monitor price action. Do have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.